Joining me now is the attorney for the Loggins family, Brian Dunn. Mr. Dunn, we appreciate you joining me. Let me just begin with what has Sergeant Loggins' widow told you about what he was doing there that very, very early morning at that high school?
Well, thank you for having me, Brooke. And specifically what we know is that pursuant to a ritual that the family had, they were going on a prayer walk. They were very religious. Mr. Loggins was very religious. And in the early morning hours, it was his practice to go to the playing field of the San Clemente High School and walk with his daughters and meditate in a spirit of prayer. And that's what they were out there for, and that's what they were doing this morning.
So this was something fairly typical. This was typical behavior of Mr. Loggins, even though it was 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, to not only go and bring his Bible and go on these prayer walks, as you mentioned, around the school track, but to also take his daughters with him.
Absolutely. Not only was the prayer walk typical, but the time of day was typical. This was a full-time Marine. He was on the clock. He had to be very busy. And these particular mornings, those were the times when he had a special private time with his daughters.
Let me ask you about this video here. This video from the surveillance camera we mentioned, we're getting it right now, CNN is, but from what I understand, it's 31 minutes actually of tape. Have you seen this video?
I have.
And what does it show?
Well, what we see is what appears to be a traffic accident. We see the SUV that was driven by Mr. Loggins appear to run or drive into a gate. The severity of the accident is not clear. The extent of the property damage is not clear. I have had a chance to look at the vehicle. There is some damage to the vehicle. And following that, we see the sheriff's deputy with its lights on, not sirens, follow the police vehicle. I think, Brooke, what's important about this video is not what it shows, but what it doesn't show. This is a case involving the death of a man. It was a man that was shot and killed in the presence of his 2 daughters. We know that he wasn't armed. We have no concept as to why the deputy fired. We know that the deputy was not in fear of his life. We know that no crime had been committed. And at the same time, deadly force was used, specifically force that resulted in the death of this individual. And not only was he killed in his car, but he was killed in the immediate presence of 2 of his daughters who were aged 14 and 9. So when we start talking about the video, what we're interested in, what the family is interested in, is answers regarding why this shooting happened in the way that it did.
But I do have to ask here about these 2 daughters, these young daughters, as you point out, 9, 14 years of age. They were in the car. They witnessed this horrific incident. And I know that police questioned them for multiple hours. How involved will they be, Mr. Dunn, in this case that you're building against the county right now?
Well, they have a dual role, Brooke. As heirs of Sergeant Loggins, they act in the capacity as plaintiffs in a wrongful death case. But what's unusual about their position here is that not only were they plaintiffs, but they were also what we call percipient witnesses. In other words, they saw exactly what occurred. They were there when it happened. They perceived it happening, and they remember what happened. And I can tell you that with regard to what their position is, we're not hearing anything from those girls saying that their father was acting irrational. We know that he wasn't armed with any kind of weapon. We're not hearing anything out of these girls that is leading us to believe that there can even be the remotest justification for the use of deadly force.
How are they?
They are going to never be the same. This incident has scarred them and has left a mark that will never be healed. They are going to have problems as a result of this deputy's misconduct for the rest of their lives.